All right, fifth grade, Mr. Krug coming at you. You've already had your first visit to the Neil Armstrong Planetarium. We learned a little bit about the winter sky, and now today, together, we are going to work our way through your coloring sheet, which is really going to help you understand the wintertime sky before you start to plot it on your star charts. So first up, fifth grade, just raise it with me. Ooh, ooh. There we go. Now we're ready. We are going to have a great session here in the planetarium as we color together. Right now, it's a Saturday, and I'm just kind of chilling in school, getting some bonus work done. Your teachers know what's up. Only the real ones know here. Here in the planetarium, it's a quiet Saturday, and I want nothing better than to show you a little bit about how to color out your wintertime sky. The only tools you are going to need for this in your classroom, we are going to need a yellow pencil, orange pencil, red pencil, blue pencil. If you have a white colored pencil, that's pretty cool, but not totally necessary. Also, a little bit later on, wouldn't hurt if you had a ruler. Now, check out my ruler. It's likely your ruler is not going to be quite as legit as mine. Only planetarium directors can have these fancy astronomy rulers, but I bet you can probably find a good one in your classroom too. So, all along, we want to keep our eyes on the prize, and that prize, everybody, is the Elementary Planetarium Champions Trophy, going to the top school that gets the best winter quiz scores during their second visit. But even if your school can't win this one, that's okay, everybody. We're going to learn a lot about the winter sky and what we call stellar evolution. Now, your coloring sheet looks like this. But when we're all done, it is going to look like this, and it's going to look totally awesome. By the way, this coloring sheet, let me just give a shout out to this book, comes from one of my favorite books on astronomy. It's called 365 Starry Nights. The man who wrote it, the author, is called Chet Raymo. And what's amazing about this book, everybody, is instead of having chapters, it arranges everything by the day of the year. What can you see in the sky when you go outside every single night of the year? The other awesome thing, I bet you've learned about authors and maybe illustrators. Well, Raymo is both the author and the illustrator. He makes all of these drawings himself, and they are so amazing. And we see how the sky changes throughout the seasons as well. So it's a great book. We use it here in the high school with my students, but it's also written on an elementary level that you can understand as well. So if you like this coloring sheet and you like what we're doing in astronomy, you can score this bad boy used off of thriftbooks.com for only about $8 or so. So I highly recommend it. Okay, let's get into the skies of midwinter. So here is your overall drawing sheet, how it's going to look. Now, we could do this the simple way, or we could do this the fancy way. If we do it the fancy way, we just hold our pinkies up to our mouths, just like we are British and about to have a little bit of tea while we look at our star charts here. So we are going to use at least two colors. So if you're doing this at home, or you don't have a lot of colors in your classroom, just pick two. The first color can be just to color in all the stars. The second color can be to color all the lines to make the constellations. However, we are going to go just a little bit fancier here for our full video, and let's use all of these colors. So stars, everybody, are always different colors. You probably know our sun is the closest star to us. Yes, our sun is a star, and it's a lot like all the other stars out there on the sky, except it's much closer to us. So instead of looking like a little pinpoint of light on the sky like all these, it looks like a big yellow ball. But did you know not all stars are yellow? It's true. Stars that are hotter than our sun are white or even blue-white. And then we have stars that are cooler on our sun. They go down to orange and then red as well. Now, your eyes are a little bit biased. They deceive you a little bit. When you go outside at night and look up, it looks like to your eyes all stars are probably blue or blue-white. But did you know there's a lot more stars up there that are actually orange and a lot of stars that are red, but your eyes can't see them as well? One of the nice things here about the winter sky, my friends, is we get a beautiful diversity of star colors, and we're going to reflect that in the main stars that we have. So let's get started, everybody, with probably the most dominant star group on the sky and the most famous constellation there is, Orion. Fifth grade right there in your classroom with me. Let's all say that one together. Everybody, Orion. Nice job. So with all of these groups of stars, I also talk about their mythologies. So mythology, my friends, just remember, is just the ancient sky story that people would tell about it. So we learn from the planetarium, lots of groups of people have their own star stories. Astronomy is beautifully diverse. But we tend, and astronomy tends to just stick with the Greek or Roman stories. So to the Greeks, Orion was a mighty hunter. This is his belt of 3 stars. Here are his shoulders. Here are his feet. And there are dimmer stars on the sky to make the hunter's head, club arm, and a shield as he battles with Taurus the bull. But what Chet Raymo's done for us is he's only showing us the main stars. Now, the one star in Orion that's really going to trigger the color sense of your eyes, everybody, is Betelgeuse, the armpit of the mighty one. So 5th grade, let's all try that together. Everybody, please repeat after me. Betelgeuse. Okay, Betelgeuse is one of the largest stars in the entire night sky, and it's one of the few stars you can clearly make out is actually red. So Betelgeuse is a much, much cooler star than our own sun. It's only around 3,000 degrees Celsius. So do understand, 5th grade, when I say cool, it doesn't mean ice cubes and penguins and polar bears. Even cool stars are very, very hot. So please color that one red. And we learned in the planetarium, Betelgeuse is right at the end of its life. Astronomers think this star might even kaboom and supernova within our lifetime. If it did, it would be the astronomical event to see. Astronomers tell us it would be so bright, we could see that explosion during the daytime for 6 straight months, 6, 7 months, and it would even cast shadows at night. But then the sad thing, 5th grade, is once it fades from view, poor Orion would no longer have a shoulder, and we would be missing that beautiful symmetry that makes him so famous for so many cultures. Now, the other star we need to know in Orion is Rigel. So 5th grade, let's all try that together. Everybody, please repeat after me. Rigel. Rigel is a little bit smaller than Betelgeuse. So Betelgeuse, astronomers call a red supergiant. Rigel, my friends, is a blue supergiant. So even though it's a little bit smaller than Betelgeuse, it's thousands of degrees hotter. It's even hotter than our own sun. So remember your color order, everybody. It goes blue are the hottest, then white, then average stars, yellow, that's our sun, then orange, and then the very cool ones are red. So Betelgeuse is blue, Betelgeuse is red, Rigel is blue, and then all these other stars in Orion are also very hot stars. These 3 stars that make up his belt do have proper names. You don't need to know them in 5th grade, but if you're wondering, it goes Aunatak, Aunalam, and Mintaka. Then his shoulder and foot stars that we didn't learn also have proper names. His other shoulder star is Bellatrix, which happens to be a character in the Harry Potter books. We're going to see author J.K. Rowling uses a lot of star names for Harry Potter characters. Then this one down in the hunter's foot is called Saif, another Arabic-sounding star. Okay, we're off to a good start here. In Orion the Hunter, we have the red shoulder star of Betelgeuse and the blue foot star of Rigel. All right, let's use the hunter's belt like a sky mark, and let's follow it up, up, up to the great bull called Taurus. 5th grade, everybody, please repeat after me. Taurus. Okay, Taurus and Orion are classically pictured as doing battle on our sky. And we have one reddish-orange star, very similar to Orion's red Betelgeuse, and that, my friends, is Aldebaran. So let's do this if you have a full assortment of colored pencils. Let's start with a red color, but do it a little bit more lightly than we did Beetlejuice. And then let's just go over it with a little bit of orange. So understand, fifth grade, some stars might not be perfectly one color or another. If they're on a boundary temperature line, maybe like between 4,500 degrees for orange and 3,000 for red, they can be in between. This is what the ancients knew as the eye of the bull. Because if you imagine this to be the bull's horns, that's about where the eye would be. Now, the little V-shaped grouping that Aldebaran is in is our first of 2 star clusters. This grouping is called the Hyades. So fifth grade, let's give that a shot. Everybody, Hyades. Good. So the stars in the Hyades are fairly young, and they're starting to spread out on the sky. So let's all color them blue. And you might wonder, well then, what's Aldebaran doing there? Well, you don't need to know this, fifth grade, but it's pretty fascinating. Aldebaran is not actually part of this V-shaped group. Did you know that? It's a separate star that's much closer to us than the rest of the Hyades. But when our brains look up there, we see that nice V shape. And we automatically think, okay, it must be part of the V, but it's actually not. That's a phenomenon called pareidolia, and it's the same reason you see different shapes in clouds or different things around the world or in nature that look like people or animals to you. It's called pareidolia. So that's why Aldebaran doesn't quite match the rest of the Hyades. Now, off your paper, and Raymo's not showing it, we have a beautiful little star cluster over here called the Pleiades. So if you're starting to color with your teacher and you're wondering where the Pleiades are, they're not on this color sheet, but they will be on your star charts. Let's color this last star in the bull's bottom horn blue. And we learned in class this is right around where the Crab Nebula is, which we'll cover on our star charts. Okay, we've got Orion the Hunter, and we've got Taurus the Bull. Next up, notice some constellations unofficially connect together. They actually share stars unofficially when we make stick figures, and that's happening with our charioteer. The guy driving the chariot, his name is Orijah. Fifth grade, let's give that a try. Everybody, Orijah. Great job. So the star of Orijah, pardon the pun everybody, is our mommy goat star of Capella. Now she is what astronomers would know as a yellow giant. Some of these star names are kind of funny. Our sun is what astronomers call a yellow dwarf. So it's yellow, it's about average temperature, but it's a little smaller than the real big stars. Capella is yellow like our sun, but much, much bigger. So it's a yellow giant. So don't just assume because a star is a certain color, we also know its size. There's a great diversity to stars. So if you remember, Capella is the mommy goat, and right here we'll see it on our big star charts. We have her baby goats, the kids. Okay, fifth grade, let's color in the rest of Orijah together. All the other important stars, we're just going to make our standard blue or light blue color. And by the way, if I'm going too fast for you, your teacher can pause this video at any time. So Capella is going to be very high overhead. If you remember in the planetarium, I had you all look straight up. And in astronomy, that's our point called the zenith. Okay, we've got our hunter, our bull, our charioteer. Now, fifth grade, let's start working our way back down the sky. And we come to the Gemini boys, the twins of Castor and Pollux. So let's try all 3 names together to mix it up a little bit. Everybody, Gemini, Castor, and Pollux. Good job, fifth grade. So let's start with the twins. Even though we call them twins, they're a little bit different. Maybe some of you have a pair of twins in your class, or maybe you are a twin, and you probably might look very, very much like your brother or sister, but probably your mom or dad can always tell you apart. And especially if there's 2 brothers or 2 sisters, you don't know how, but your parents can totally do it. Well, the same thing is happening with our twins. Castor, everybody, is the hotter of the 2 stars. It's very hot. So let's stick with our blue or blue-white color. And then Pollux is much, much cooler. Pollux, everybody, is going to be a yellowish orange. So you remember how Aldebaran was reddish orange? Pollux is going to be yellow orange. So let's actually try to use both the yellow and the orange right on top of each other. So if we were to order these in terms of temperature at the cool end, everybody, Capella would be average. Then we would go Pollux, a yellow-orange. Then we go Aldebaran, a reddish-orange. And the coolest one will be this deep red of Betelgeuse. Okay, while I talk to you about Gemini, let's just color the rest of the stars blue. So overall, it makes a U shape or an N shape on the sky. And these are supposed to be the two brothers holding hands shoulder to shoulder on the sky. And if you do notice, fifth grade, their proportions are a little bit different. Notice Castor has a long torso, long arms, and two short legs. Pollux, his brother, short torso, short arms, and two very long legs. This, fifth grade, is a very famous constellation. I would say it's not quite as famous as Orion the Hunter, but it's definitely up there. Top 10, top 20 on the sky for sure. There's a lot of stars to color here, so pause the video if needed. Okay, there we are. That looks absolutely beautiful. We've got our twins of Gemini on the sky. Finally, fifth grade, where are my dogs at? Arr. What good would a hunter be without his hunting dogs on the sky? Our hunter Orion has exactly that. We've got our big dog of Canis Major, and we've got our little dog of Canis Minor. So let's start with the little dog, and you can all see, fifth grade, it truly is very, very little. There's only two stars you can see with your eyes, but the bottom one has a proper name. It's called Procyon. So let's start right there. The silly way I remember this, I think this little dog is a very good hunter. Not an amateur, but a pro for Procyon. Now, Procyon, fifth grade, is actually a yellowish white star. So it's even just a little bit hotter than the yellow mommy goat star of Capella. So let's do this. Let's start with our yellow color, but then let's use a little bit of a white colored pencil. And I'm going to be honest, white colored pencils are next to useless unless you're using them on black construction paper. So I'm guessing your teacher has a whole bunch laying around, and the points on them are probably perfectly sharp because they're never used for anything. Great time to break it out, and let's make Procyon yellowish white. So if we put our colors back in order, friends, notice what this means is we're leaving the yellow color band. We're getting closer to white. The really, really hot stars are going to be blue. Okay, let's color that other one blue. So notice, even though it's not quite as bright as Procyon, it's also going to be hotter. So don't assume for a minute, everybody, that the hotter a star is, the brighter it is. Astronomers have a really tricky time because temperature, size, brightness, and especially distance all come into play. We're about to see that Sirius is the brightest star on Earth's night sky, but it's actually because it's very, very close to us. Stars like Betelgeuse and Rigel look a little bit dimmer, but they're actually hundreds of light years farther away from us. So if you could take all these stars and line them up shoulder to shoulder, you would see some stars would actually be way, way brighter, and then some stars that are bright for us would actually be a lot dimmer. But that's a story we'll save for another time. The fancy word astronomers use, though, for brightness is magnitude. So if we want to be fancy, we're talking about the magnitude of these stars. Okay, let's hop down over Monoceros to the big dog of Canis Major. Now here, everybody, the brightest star in the entire night sky, and you might remember, very famous, it's called the dog star, is Sirius. Sirius, everybody, is a blue-white in color. So let's take that same white colored pencil and let's add just a little bit to the blue right there. And then the rest of the stars, everybody, let's just make our standard blue or light blue color. So Sirius, as we learned in class, is the dog star. This is where things like Dog Days of Summer come from, the logo for Sirius XM satellite radio, or the character of Sirius Black in the Harry Potter books or movies who could turn into a dog. That's all after the dog star of Sirius, the brightest star in Earth's night sky. Now, the only ones we haven't addressed so far, but let's go ahead and color them because coloring is fun. By the way, fifth grade, even when you get to high school, I assure you, coloring is still really fun. All of my teenagers in class try to act really, really cool and really, really tough. But anytime I break out a coloring assignment, they secretly love it. So monoceros, if we break this down Latin style, mono is one, cero is horn. Like boys in particular, you know how when you love growing up, you just totally go crazy for dinosaurs. You know about the triceratops. Well, triceratops, that means 3 horns. Monoceros is 1 horn. So fifth grade, can anybody think what type of mythological special creature would that be? Oh yeah, you guessed it, everybody. That's our unicorn, 1 horn. We don't learn monoceros because it's super duper dim and tough to find on the sky, but it is up there. Finally, the other one Chet Raymo shows for us is lepus. Now, lepus, everybody, is the prey that the hunter and his 2 dogs are pursuing. Lepus in mythology is the hare, H-A-R-E. That's like a rabbit, but with bigger ears. So this is lepus the hare. Okay, we're almost done. I think you would agree with me that our star charts are looking absolutely spectacular. One thing I would encourage you not to color in, because it just jumbles up the star charts a little bit too much. If you all don't mind, unless you've already done it, let's not color in or trace over these dots right here. Does anybody want to take a guess what these dots are? We learned it in class on the planetarium dome, and it also matches the name of a very delicious candy bar. That's right, fifth grade, you guessed it. This right here, friends, is our Milky Way. So part of the reason the skies of winter are so beautiful, everybody, is that the Milky Way, that river of starlight, the edge of our galaxy runs right through the middle of it. So in winter, like in summer, we're looking right down the barrel of the Milky Way into many stars. The other thing I would like to color, though, is let's use a different color just to connect the stick figures that we needed to learn. Now, you can pick whatever color that you want. I would personally recommend get a different color than the ones that we've already used. Now, me personally, I'm going to live a little bit dangerously. I'm going to go with a nice violet color right here. That's just me. I like to live on the edge. I'm going with purple, but you can pick your favorite color. And you don't have to use a ruler, but me at the planetarium, I'm very OCD. You can ask your teachers what that means. Basically, I really like everything to be nice and perfect. And if it's not, I'll drive myself crazy. So this is a good way in fifth grade to kind of hone your ruler skills with a Z and break out those rulers. So what I like to do is I like to use a ruler to connect all the lines for our constellations. Now, while we're doing that, let's just talk again about what constellations really are. They are groupings of stars in the sky, and astronomers do use them, everybody. In fact, the night sky is officially divided into 88 pieces of property called constellations, and astronomers use them too. However, I do want to let you know, fifth grade, all these stick figures that we're drawing are not actually official to astronomers. Did you know that? So astronomers know what constellation these stars are actually in, but they might not draw stick figures like we are. In fact, the stick figure shapes themselves aren't actually official. So what that means is these are the stick figure shapes author Chet Raymo has chosen, and I totally love them. I think he does a great job. But you might open a different astronomy book, or you might read a storybook about astronomy. And the stick figures might look slightly different to you. Or they might include some other stars that he's not showing here, like the club arm and the shield of Orion the Hunter. So anytime that happens, 5th grade, don't let yourself get psyched out. Just stick with it, and just remember, these stick figures that we're drawing are not actually official. Now, it's up to you if you highlight the sticks for Monoceros, our unicorn, or Lepus, our hare. If you don't mind my choice, I'm not going to do that. That way, when I study, I'll know those constellations are beautiful like all the other ones, but they're not one of the ones that I need to know when I visit the planetarium again. But it's totally up to you. Ooh, let me see. I just realized on my example sheet, I forgot one. See, even your teachers make mistakes too. So I'm just going to color back over the big and little dogs as well. All right. I really love how mine is coming along. Oh man, I totally forgot to even finish Gemini. I bet Mr. Krug was coloring the other day, and then I got pulled away on official teacher business. And I bet your teachers know that. That probably happens to them like all the time, because elementary is crazy, and your teachers are total rock stars for teaching you and being awesome teachers and bringing high energy and the vibes every single day. Okay, let's see. Ooh, that's looking really good. Okay, so that was my example sheet. And now here is the sheet that we did together. Okay, I hope yours looks similar to mine. If you color in a different way or you've picked different colors, that's totally okay. I think we had a great time together and we learned a lot about the stars and why they have different colors. Now, the next time I'm back with you, I'm going to make a video or two for you with our big official fancy looking star charts. And we'll learn about something that's called stellar evolution that I think you'll find fascinating. Okay, until that time, just study these coloring sheets when you have a chance with your teachers or at home. And I'll see you next time, 5th grade. Peace!